who are you?
Oh,
And
shoot.
I know, right? Who are you?
I don't think
And
that's an easy question.
I hope, I don't know, maybe not.
Who am
Who
I?
are you, and what can people expect from your content?
My name is Ruthless Night Sister, or Ruthie, and I started as just a cosplay creator, and then moved into being mostly at this point a gaming creator and streamer. But cosplay is always thrown in there because that's like my thing. So that's what I'm about. If that is who I am.
And yeah, you have followings across Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, all kinds of amazing shorts, pictures, the cosplay and all that. I know, right? I'm just laying it on thick at this point. Uh, where how'd you get started on just on socials or on content
Socials in
in
general.
general?
Well, so I actually started most of my social media career started like at the height of COVID, which I feel like not the height, like the start of COVID. And I feel like that's how a lot of people got started. Like we're all just you're just stuck in your house with nothing else to do. And I think I just started filming like dumb like Star Wars based TikToks. Like I don't even think it was cosplay at the beginning. It was just like memeing
Mm.
around, and then slowly cosplay got involved, and then it would just blew up from there. So that's how I got started, like in general on social media. And I'd always kind of like, I kind of posted on, I had a cosplay Instagram that I kind of posted on, but it wasn't a big deal. But it was like TikTok that was where I like started being more consistent as far as content creation.
So you started posting some, you're almost memeing, and then
Yes.
you kind of started breaking up the cosplay. At what point did you decide, like, oh, I should really do more of this? How
Oh,
did you,
shoot.
like, what brought you to that point?
Like, I gotta be honest, it's probably the Marin cosplay. Is that I did like a closet cosplay of Marin, which is basically just like things that I found that I already owned and makeup I already had. And I like threw it together and I started filming content and people liked it. And I was like, oh, and I've been cosplaying since I was like 14. So like it was something that I'd been doing for a while, but I had moved out of my parents' house, and my mom's the reason that I started cosplaying. She's a cosplayer herself. And so I had moved out of the house, so I didn't have her cool like craft room and stuff. And so I was kind of working with like cardboard and like scissors and things just like in my room. And I think it was people falling in love with the cosplays and that content I was making for like Jedi Fallen Order, that then I was like, I like making cosplays. I'm going to like start doing that and posting more content with it. So that's really what got me like sold into content creation, was creating these cosplays and finding a cosplay community too. There were so many other people that were cosplaying from Jedi Fallen Order that we would duet with, and like other people who would cosplay as Night Sisters that we would make content together. And I think that sold me as well, as finding like this sense of community, especially during COVID when we were very locked up, locked in, finding people, especially with shared interests with cosplay and Star Wars and all of that, that it was like, okay, this is something that I want to do.
To go from, like, oh, this was just a fun little
Mhm.
thing, and then kind of really just pursuing, the actual, like, putting more effort into it, getting to know other
Yeah.
people in the community. Was that, like, trajectory of just kind of building up all that community and followership, like, how fast did that happen for you?
I'm like trying to think. Obviously slow at the beginning because that's always how it is. I don't know. I think it took me I'm like trying to remember. Like it's been so long at this point. I'm like sitting here like it was like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, because I think I started streaming like a year into creating content like over
Mm,
on TikTok, because I started streaming. Like that's how I tell time now, is by how long I've been streaming and like stream things that have
yeah.
happened. It was
Okay.
slow at the beginning, and then you hit a there's always those bumps where you hit the point where it's like okay, and now you're exploding, and then you like slow down, and
Yeah.
then you're like it's a little bit of a slow down.
You mentioned earlier that you were just kind of memeing, having some fun early on, and then you kind of stumbled upon the fact that like people were responding to it. Was there ever a moment where you're like, I shouldn't do this, or you kind of second guessed it, or you wondered if you should like dive into it before you actually took that jump? Or yeah.
I'm like trying to think because it was all for fun. Like, I don't think I ever, at least at the very beginning, I didn't go into it with like the thought of, I want to get lots of followers. I want to like hit it big or anything like that. Like, that was never the goal at the beginning. It was just, this is something I enjoy and something I think is fun. And other people who enjoy these things and think they're fun, and let's all do this together because we all like
Mhm.
Star Wars and we all like cosplaying, and we'll just create stuff. And just that started building and people started being interested, and then it all just ended up the way it ended up. I'm like trying to think if there's ever a time that I was like, I don't want to do this, because it was all just for fun. So it wasn't ever like a consideration of, is this going to be too much? Is this going to be overbearing? And
Right.
I have hit walls in like content creation where you get to the point where you're like, either engagement is down or something else is going on or life gets hectic, and you're like, well, do I want to keep creating content? Do I want to kind of like slow down, take a break? Because I'm going to be honest, I made so much more content for like TikTok and stuff years ago than I do now, because it just is not worth it as much to me. And I hit a wall with that kind of content and was like, that kind of stuff just isn't worth it. Cause I used to like post like 3 times a day on TikTok every single day. Like, it was like I was pumping out content. I used to
Yeah.
like get into Marin cosplay like every single week. And it just is not something I do anymore, because it's just not worth it to me emotionally anymore. Cause it was so much that I
Right.
was trying to get done.
I imagine when you were doing 3 posts a day that you were constantly just either like getting into like, the costume, as well as thinking about what you wanted to record, or like recording itself takes a while too. How
Mhm.
much time during those days did you spend creating content for TikTok?
Lots of time. Like, and I would do it in like bunches. That's not the word I'm looking for. Like
Batches?
in a whole batch. No, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I would spend a whole day where like I would wake up, I would get into cosplay, I would film, and then I would edit all those videos. So then they'd
Yeah.
just be ready. So it'd be like 12 hours where I would just be like doing it. And then like
Wow.
I'd take a few days where like maybe I'd edit a few loose things and then I'd do it again. And that was
Wow.
like what I did. Cause especially at that point, I was still in school.
Mm.
So it was like I didn't really have a job. I was a student. So I had time. I had a lot of time, and COVID was happening. So most of my classes were online at that point. And so like I would just be like, this day is Marin Day, or this day is Cal Day, or whatever cosplay I was filming that day. And it would just be wake up, get into cosplay, film stuff, edit.
Wow.
And I don't know how I did that. Like, now I'm like, I don't think I
Yeah.
could do.
Yeah, I imagine the amount of effort to get that much, right? Like if you're talking like 3 videos are posted a day, that's probably, I wouldn't even know how many TikToks that is if you given a day of filming. How like generally how much did that
Like, how
like
many did I produce?
yeah,
Dependent on the day, but like anywhere between like 10 to 20
yeah.
TikToks a day
Wow.
for
S-
filming.
So that would maybe cover a week of worth of TikToks.
Hmm.
Wow. That's incredible too, because like I always, yeah, I mean, I've seen some. I scrolled as far back as I could at one point, looking at some of your stuff just to see how that went. It's cool to
Hmm.
see, especially the amount of content that's on your profiles, and the fact that you sustained that for as long as you did is just incredible to me. What kind of changed that whole thing for you when you started to realize that it was more energy for you than you were wanting to put forth into maintaining TikTok as much as you have been at that point?
Just burnout. Like,
Mm,
I think with any, even things that you enjoy and are enjoying doing, you're eventually going to hit a wall where it's just like, nope, the thought of having to do that right now is just like death. Like, I don't want to. So I think I eventually just hit the wall where it was like, well, and especially with, I'm not going to say Marin got more complicated, but I did start working on like the intricacies and everything a lot more. And that in itself takes time, the building of the cosplay and everything. And especially when I started streaming takes time. And I think that also like fulfilled my need to put content out into the world, if that makes sense. That there was like, I think that's why I was putting out so many videos, because you're putting out 15-second videos. So like if you put out 3 videos, or like 15 to like 30-second videos is what I usually would go for. And so like that's not that much content that you're like putting out into the world. So I think getting to do the more long form streaming content also kind of fulfilled that need. So I think once I started streaming, and then I could also use stream clips to produce that kind of content to post on TikTok, it made it so it was less viable, or it felt less important for me to take all that time to get into cosplay and film all the videos and everything.
Right.
And also you're just hitting burnout at that point where it's just emotionally not worth it. And especially if you're not getting the numbers or whatever, the validation that you feel like you need for creating that content.
Yeah.
It also, you're just like, meh,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
How did the other types of content start to kind of come into play? Because I know that you're on Twitch, of course. You're also on YouTube. How did those other platforms begin to make their way into your routine?
I was very much just TikTok, Instagram was where I was at the very beginning, with like posting cosplay photos, posting TikTok videos, cosplay videos. And I think it was like my 25K follower celebration goal or something, because everybody wanted to watch me play Jedi Fallen Order, because that was all my cosplays were Jedi Fallen Order cosplays. And so people are like, we must play you, we got to see you play Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, like you just gotta. And I was like, okay, but I didn't have a PC at the time. I had like a crappy laptop. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna stream this. And someone messaged me and they're like, I can show you how to stream off of Xbox. And I was like, okay, I have an Xbox, I can do that. Cool. So I like bought a webcam that worked with Xbox. I like sat down in a video call. I wish I remembered this individual's name that sat down with me and was like, here's everything you need to do. And we like set my Xbox up, and I streamed from my Xbox, and we played Battlefront my first few streams just to like make sure it worked. And then we played Jedi Fallen Order, and that's how I got into streaming. And YouTube came much later. I kind of uploaded some of like TikTok videos over on YouTube, but what really got me onto YouTube was Jedi Survivor and creating content for Jedi Survivor and all the like gaming news. Here's all the new info we have about Jedi Survivor, because I was very, very excited about Jedi Survivor. That's kind of my thing, you know, Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor. So that's what got me onto YouTube. But Twitch was very much, I always would get comments that are like, we want you to cosplay and play Jedi Fallen Order. We want to see you play the game. I'm so excited. And then it went from there, and now we're here.
It's very cool that your content just started to transcend into other types of platforms. Of course, it sounds like the transition was pretty natural in terms of, I do all this cosplay, let's play the game that it's based on, that is all completely related. What was that like for you getting into Twitch when you were so used to like the short form content side of things?
It was a lot, because I wasn't very familiar with Twitch at all when I joined, when I started streaming. Because I know there's lots of streamers that like they're chatters first and then they stream. I was never a chatter. Like Twitch was like, I think I had gone on Twitch a few times to like play like Jackbox games with like random people, like party games and stuff when I was like bored. But like that was the extent. So like I had no knowledge about Twitch when I finally joined Twitch. So I was like basically going in blind. I was like, I have no idea what's happening. I'm like streaming off of my Xbox. Like I think I was sitting in like a camping chair in my like room. Like I didn't have any good lighting. Like it was all like a change, but I loved it. Like from the moment that I started doing it, like my first few streams were weird because we had to figure out internet and what what I could stream and everything. I had a lot of, but that's just streaming at this point. It's all tech issues.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
like it was a change, but I really enjoyed it. And I didn't know I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. And so it kind of just like, as far as like interacting with chat, and I was lucky enough. I know a lot of streamers start with very minimal people, like not having anyone in chat. I was very lucky that because I was coming from people enjoying my content on another platform, that I had a relatively active chat starting out. I just fell in love with it. And obviously, like it's crazy to look back at like my first streams and be like, that's what my streams look like and how I like did things, you know?
Right.
but but no, it was one of those things that like I did it and it clicked and I was like, I really enjoy doing this. I was stuck.
Yeah. Like right from the beginning, you were excited to do it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. You know, now that you've been doing the Twitch side of things for a while, how do you think your like thoughts or your approach to content has changed?
That's an interesting question. Like probably a lot. Because I think especially now I interact with my community so much more than I did before I streamed. I think that's one of the fun things I enjoy most about streaming is the fact that you get to interact with chat or interact with other creators a lot more than like on TikTok and stuff. There's comments, but like that's not really as like personable as Twitch is. And so I think that was one of the things I really enjoyed about moving over to Twitch was these people that either like were in my Discord or were commenting and liking all my posts over on TikTok. Now I like got to talk to them and I got to interact with them and ask them how their day is going and get to know them more. And so I think that's changed how I make content a lot because I especially like doing very like community based what people want to do for content. Like I do polls for what games we want to play next. We do community days, you know, because I enjoy making content that my community is going to enjoy watching, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's changed how I've done content because it's very much it's a lot more community based and I feel like I know my community more than I did before I started Twitch by like a long shot. And I really enjoy that aspect of Twitch more so than just posting on like Twitter or TikTok and stuff. It's getting to know people because people are cool.
Yeah. I love that you incorporate the community in all those decisions that you make when it comes to the content itself. That's certainly, I mean, I think that's a fairly common thing, but I can't not stop and recognize that because it's so important. And I'm glad to hear that's a big part of what you do on your channel. At what point did you think that your community itself has really not taken ownership per se, but like are really like invested in kind of the direction your own channel goes? Was there any kind of signals for you where you're like, yeah, I really feel comfortable like putting it in the hands of the people that are in the chat?
Probably when I started variety streaming more so than just because I did a lot of just Battlefront, Jedi Fallen Orders, Star
Right.
Wars content, streaming Star Wars content.
Right.
And so I think really it was when we started branching out and being like, well, what else would you guys like to see? And I think a lot of people in chat would also maybe argue that it's just that I'm a very indecisive person. I don't like making decisions. And so it's a lot easier for me to be like, well, what do you guys want? You know? And so it's not necessarily all that, but it is a like, if I'm going to spend time making content, what kind of content you guys want to see? And so I think it was when getting out of being like, we have played every Star Wars game that I want to play. So what should we play next is when I was like, well, what do you guys want to see? Like, you guys are the ones coming to streams. You're the ones that are subscribing and like, we're just chilling. And there's another level to it that I talk about a lot is that I am very new to gaming and new to the gaming scene. I didn't really game as a child or a teenager. Like I got into gaming like as a like a young adult.
Yeah.
So I've only been gaming for the last few years. And so there's so many games I've not played yet. And so that was that's always been part of the having the community vote for what to play next is that there's all these games that am unfamiliar with because I've not been in the gaming world very long, that people are like, you haven't played blah 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 game, you have to,
Right.
and so that's most of the games that we've been playing is, you haven't played blah,
Yeah.
you got to. So that kind of helped, because it helped like open my eyes to all of these amazing games that people are really excited about, that are amazing games. That's also been a fun part of getting the community into voting for everything that I do.
Yeah. The suggestions that the community has given you, were there any particular ones that came across that you decided to play and really kind of opened your eyes to like, this is a cool game, I didn't expect it to be cool?
I'm like trying to think of what the games are, because sometimes I'll vote for games and I'll be like apprehensive and I'll be like, we want to play that. I think probably the one that I enjoyed the most, that I was the most apprehensive about, was probably Mass Effect. I'd never played Mass Effect. I had no knowledge about Mass Effect, and it's an older game. Like the first one is an older game, and I've always been kind of apprehensive. We played a few older games that haven't turned out great on stream, just because they're older and they don't carry forward as much. And because I'm so new to gaming, I'm so used to like high speed gaming mechanics. And so when I play some older games, I'm like frustrated because I die too much. And so Mass Effect was one of those games that I was like, this is an older game I'm kind of nervous about, but it has turned out to be like one of those games that, cough, Force Unleashed. Sorry, the Force Unleashed. We had to turn it to the easiest setting for me to be able to play it, and it like glitched. I was scarred.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Force Unleashed. But Mass Effect has turned out to be one of my favorite games that we've played. But I was like, I don't know and it's like dedication. Sometimes, especially longer games and games that are series, are ones where it's like, you're going to be playing this game for like 4 months. And you're like, do I want to dedicate 4 months of streams to playing this one game or game series? And so Mass Effect, I think, was one of, like, off the top of my head, is one of the games I was probably most apprehensive about, but then ended up being an amazing game that I really, really enjoyed playing.
It sounds like Mass Effect is one of, it's a little different than some of the other games that you've played. And that's definitely one of the things that can be kind of like, I don't know about this community. Why are we doing this? But I'm glad.
I guess.
Yeah. Did you play through the first 3?
We played through the first 3 and Andromeda.
Oh,
so we
Andromeda.
did the full thing.
You did the whole thing.
I did the whole thing. We were dedicated.
That's awesome. How was Andromeda? That's the one that I didn't play.
I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. I think it's one of those games that people really hit it hard with bad reviews, and so they didn't make another one. And I'm going to say I was really sad at the end of Andromeda that there was nothing else. Like, there wasn't another game, there wasn't any DLCs, and it was just over. And I was like, oh, but I enjoyed it.
I've heard someone say the same thing as you did, like surprised that they didn't do more, or that, that it got a lot of hate at first, but turned out to be a pretty good game. I'm excited that you eventually started off with all this Star Wars heavy content, which is, where you got your start, of course, and then you've branched out to variety. How was that transition from mostly Star Wars to variety for you?
Well, I tried to do it like, what's the saying that's like, you set the frog in the boiling water and you slowly heat it up so they don't realize the water's boiling. That's not, there's a saying that goes along with that concept. And it was kind of that way, because we still play Battlefront. Like, it was always like story game, Battlefront, story game, until slowly Battlefront phased out because it stopped getting updates. Yes, I'm going to boil you. And so it was like a slow phase away from Star Wars, because I still wanted to hold on to Star Wars. And there's always that fear as a creator that moving to variety, you're going to lose so much. Like you're moving and changing what you're doing, you're going to become like you're going to lose tons of followers. You know, nobody wants to come watch your content because it's not the same, you know. And so there's always that fear. And so I think that's why I did it in that way where it was like keep Battlefront as kind of like the community day. We'll play Battlefront together and then we'll also play other story games. But I think all in all, the transition went fine. Like I can't remember, like it's been so long at this point since I started Variety that like I can't remember there being any like negative, like huge negative impact for switching to Variety, which like is a huge tell of how cool my community is. And like there'll be nights where I'll sit and be like, my community is so cool, you know, and like all these cool people that like, especially there's so many people that like are still part of my community from like day one that were like there very early on in like the first Fallen Order streams, the first Battlefront streams that like are still here and they still hang out and they still come to stream. And it's just one of those crazy things that you're like, I'm glad you like me, I guess.
Yeah.
I must have done something right.
Yeah, that's incredible that you started off on a completely different platform for the most part, and then I would say you've transitioned to being mostly focused on Twitch. I know you still do everything else, but and to see not only was there such strong support, you were able to stray away from the part like the content that you originally were known for and be, you know, sustaining this community on Variety. So that's quite a feat because I've seen creators attempt to do that and then they see a big dip. Yeah. And some people can't even recover for that. So that says a lot about your community and the content that you create. That's just awesome. I wanted to take a moment and acknowledge that because that's just a tough thing. Like speaking as
shout out to the community.
Shout out to
shout out
Ruthie's
to the community for sticking with me.
Yeah, this is a shout out.
Shout out.
With everything you've done so far, and I'm sure there's so much more, you know, ahead of you, what kind of advice would you give someone who is thinking about starting content creation of any kind? What kind of advice would you give them?
Just so much of my advice would be like, be patient with yourself because so much of content creation, at least for me, and I know a lot of other people where it's like, they put so much weight on it, especially at the beginning where like you're not making money, you have very little like viewership, like you're not getting things back from creating content and except for like the enjoyment of creating content. So much of beginning as a content creator is find something you enjoy doing. And that's important. Like, don't do things because you feel like they're going to get you numbers or you feel like they're going to find you followers or farming followers or whatever. Like, find something that you enjoy as just something fun that you think is fun. And I think with anything, like whether it's cosplay, whether it's Star Wars or Marvel or any fandom, really, there's other people that want to talk about it. There's other people that want to interact with other people that are excited about things because people like talking to people about things they're excited about. And so it's just kind of finding your group of people and finding what you love to do, because making content in hopes that you're going to get followers and in hopes you're going to get views is just going to end up being frustrating because freaking social media is so unpredictable. Like 1 month you could be doing great numbers, you could be rocking it, and the next month you're getting like no viewership. And so it's important to find something. And I know it's like easier said than done to be like, just find something you love and then people will follow you, you know, because that's not how it works.
Right.
But like, it's just it's just the whole thing of make sure what you're doing is something that you would enjoy doing regardless of if you're getting followers, if you're getting likes. Because if what you're doing entirely revolves around how many viewers you're getting, how many likes you're getting, it's not going to be something that you can sustain healthily, especially emotionally, for very long before you're going to start putting yourself and start making yourself anxious or depressed or whatever, because it's all about that. So it's just that would be my advice, is just find something that it's fun. Just
Yeah.
do it because it's fun, not because you wanna get famous or find followers or something like that.
Yeah. Find something you enjoy, make things around that.
Mhm.
People
And
will
hopefully the
find you.
people will come. Yeah, the
Yeah.
other people that like the thing, they will they will come.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that is a recurring theme on this show is as we I think many would agree from many past guests we've had. They've said the same thing and I think it's absolutely true. If you weren't making content that did include Star Wars, what would it
Oh
be?
gosh.
What would you
I've
do?
thought about this, like, if I weren't a Star Wars creator,
Yeah.
like, I've thought about, like, where my life would be if, like, I didn't fall in love with Star Wars. Like, before Star Wars, what was the thing?
Mm,
I don't know. And that's
yeah.
my problem is I'm like, I can't imagine my life without
Yeah.
Star Wars. Like, that's my entire existence. I am just Star Wars. Um, but, like, before Star Wars, I was really into Doctor Who. I've not watched the most recent seasons of Doctor Who, but I'm, like, trying to think, like, what would be my
Yeah.
thing? I have no
You
idea.
have no
Like,
idea.
I honestly I'm, like, sitting here, I'm like, "Can I think of anything?"
That's a valid answer too. That
I
just
don't know,
shows
just
how much
other
you love.
video games?
Yeah.
Like, there's always the games that are, like, the favorite games or, like, these are the best. Because 'cause I'm not really a game replayer. Very rarely do I other than, like,
Same.
Fallen Order,
Yeah.
Survivor, those kinds of games that are like, "These are my favorite games ever."
I'm the same
I don't
way.
really enjoy like, I've played the game, I've experienced the story, and there's so many other stories to experience, and so I'm very much and that's why I like doing variety streaming because it's like, what else is there? What
Yeah.
other cool stories can I experience? What other video games can I cry to?
Yeah.
You know, like that kind of stuff. And so, like, if I had to choose, like, my favorite games are obviously Jedi, Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, but like Red Dead is up there. Like, Red Dead Redemption 2 will always have a special place in my heart. Like, I guess if I had to choose one other game that, like, is my favorite game, like, Red Dead's up there, The Witcher's up there.
Oh yeah.
I'm like trying, there's so many. Like every new game I play, I'm like, I love the God of War series and I'm really enjoying Horizon. You
Yeah.
know, like it's one of those things where there's just so many amazing games out there where it's just like all of them. I love all of them.
Yeah. I definitely noticed. I've watched a lot of your I've lurked in a lot of your God of War streams
Hmm.
specifically, and I definitely noticed how much you enjoyed that one, and so that's one of the ones that I remember that looking back at the streams I sat in on that I was like Ruthie was really into it. So that
I
was
really enjoyed those games.
yeah
Those games were really good
yeah
and fun. I love games that have fun combat. Like that was the Spider-Man games for me. Like I'm thinking of all the games I've played
yeah
that just have like fun combat that feels fresh and different compared to so many other video games where you're just like it's just exciting to be like,
yeah.
ooh, this is different.
Yeah, the recent Spider-Man games, like the PlayStation 4 and 5
Hmm.
generation of them, are the few that I've like platinumed on PlayStation, where I just decided I
They're
wanted to do
so
every because it
good.
was just so fun and it didn't feel like a chore to play. You know, when you put a certain amount of time
Yes.
into a game and then you're like, oh man, okay, I think I'm done. It wasn't like that. Like I played all the way through the first of the two more recent
Hmm.
Spider-Man games. I played all the way through that and I was like, wow, I'm getting real close to actually getting all the trophies. I may as well just do
Might as
it.
well.
Yeah, I may as well. It was like one of those things where I was like, this
Hmm.
is probably not even a lot of work. And then I went into the Miles Morales one thinking,
Hmm.
I was like, no
Yeah.
expectation, but I'll probably, and then 50 hours later, I was like, yeah, I cleared everything. I did everything. I did it all. And like you, I'm the same way. Even with games that I love, I don't replay many games. There are only a
Mm-mm.
handful of games that I will replay because I just want to try everything else that's out there. So,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
exactly.
gaming content is definitely an interesting thing to make for. how do you try to keep things fresh knowing that, especially if you're like the Mass Effect games, right? When you played through all the Mass Effect games, how did you keep kind of that whole string of streams like fresh for you, knowing that you were playing the same game for so
Yeah, yeah,
long?
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. They kind of just stay fresh themselves. Like if it's a
Yeah.
good game that I'm really enjoying, because sorry again to Force Unleashed, there's been there's been games that I played in the past that I dread. Like I
Mm.
will actively dread having to stream them and be like, we just have to get through it. It's gonna be okay. Like we'll make jokes because how we got through the Force Unleashed. Not that it's a bad story. If you like the Force Unleashed, I'm sorry. Uh, there's a function on the Force Unleashed, at least the version we played, where you can like change what your character looks like. So instead of being Star Killer, you can be like, we played as C-3PO, the C-3PO skin, and so that made it fun. But
Yeah.
most games, just by the virtue of them being like really fun and entertaining, um, keep themselves pretty much fresh. I do like to cosplay while I stream. I try not to do. I'm not doing like full cosplays. I do like cosplays while I stream. And I think that helps keep it fresh, especially with this most. We're playing Horizon Forbidden West right now on stream, and there's different face paints that you
Oh
can
yeah.
get throughout the game. And I've been doing a different face paint every single stream,
That's
or
awesome.
trying to. And so that's been keeping it fresh. But I think most games, and especially games that people love, and with having people vote for what games they want to see next, we end up with games that lots and lots of people in the community are really excited to see me play. I think that kind of keeps the hype itself. Just people being like, I can't wait for you to get to XYZ part, or I can't wait to see how you do in XYZ battle or whatever. And in some ways that keeps itself fresh and keeps itself going. And so I don't feel like, I don't know. It's just a new, and especially with it being like my first reaction to so many of these games. It's like
Yeah.
my I am going into it not knowing these twists and turns that these games have, and I think that also adds to kind of the excitement of it all. Is people being like, oh, like
Yeah.
there's
What's
games
gonna
like in the God
happen?
of War games. There's big twists and turns that the people they like will sit and chat and be like, it's almost time.
Do you ever have to deal with like people spoiling the game or like
Oh
doing
gosh.
stuff like that, trying to ruin it for you?
The only game that got ruined for me was Jedi Survivor, and I think that's because there were people that were
Mm,
actively, like, day of release, just going to different, like, I had
yeah.
people follow me with names that were spoilers, and stuff like that, like, people
Yep.
going out of their way to be horrible people.
Mm,
But most of the games that aren't, like, new games like that, where it like I haven't really had very many issues with people spoiling, luckily, and especially older games that have been out for a while. I think there's nobody like maliciously going into streamers chat like
good. Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
people with like Jedi Survivor and other new games where there's people that just want to be rude,
Yeah.
and like especially streams like with my Jedi Survivor streams, I was getting bigger numbers. And so I think that also drew in more of the trolls
More of those
and people
people.
wanting to be
Yeah.
crappy. But luckily, like I always worry, and especially there's some games where like there are huge twists that like it's
Right.
really like, oh no. But like I haven't had a huge issue with it. Luckily. Like I
That's
think
good. It's good.
that's very much a good thing, because especially after the Survivor streams, I started to be a lot more like alert, like, oh no, like are people just gonna come in and be
Yeah.
rude? But we haven't had anything like that
That's
since.
good.
So
Yeah, that happened to me with I think the one that hit me the hardest was I think Last
mhm.
of Us 2. Like someone
Oof.
came in
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah.
like they came in and like
Here's what happens.
yeah, their name was a spoiler and then they started
Oh
saying
no.
spoilers. And so I quickly Like, I think actually a mod handled it for me, but I
Uh,
still read the name. I was like, oh, thanks
no,
for that. But
well, and
yeah.
I have mods that I have modded specifically for like Tower, who's in chat, became a mod because they knew the game we were playing and were like, I can stop the spoilers. And I was like, yes, because I don't know, so I don't know
Yeah.
what's a spoiler or not. So
Yeah,
I
you
do
don't
try
know.
to keep like, is anyone aware of like this game that's in chat that like I trust that I could mod for these streams, you know,
Yeah, that's
that
awesome.
kind of stuff. But people just suck.
Yeah, people do. When it comes to that, and that I guess, that's the part that was in that moment for me for Last of Us 2, as like, is this when I stop streaming games that are new? Like, is this when I
Yeah.
wait like a
Yeah,
couple
wait a few
weeks
months. But then
or
people are gonna
months?
post on Twitter anyway.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
it's like,
like
yeah, it never feels like there's a good decision for that sort of thing. But yeah. You mentioned earlier, how you feel about some games that you may not be your favorites. Are there sorry, is there any games that you just flat out were like, we're not doing this one anymore? Is there any that you just decided that you were done with?
I'm like trying to think. I don't think there's any that we've like started. And I like maybe the people in chat will tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think there's been any that we've like started and then I was like, no, we're not doing this anymore. Because I'm like, I'll stick it out like with that one game. Sorry, Force Unleashed. We just put it on the easiest setting so then I could play through more so the story and not have to worry about the mechanics that were making me really frustrated. Like there's been games that I'll veto, like if people want me to play them, and I'll be like, no.
Yeah.
But so far we haven't had any games that have made it to like the top spot in the polls and stuff that I've been like, no, I don't want to play that. Most of the games I'm very open to playing, but I think like KOTOR is one of those games that people really wanted me to play, Knights of the Old Republic, that after The Force Unleashed, I was like, I don't know if I want to play any more old Star Wars games.
Right.
Like, well, and then they have the remake that is probably going to come out eventually. And I was like, I'll play it when that comes out.
Yeah.
And so but that's like the only game I think that like people have actively been like, I want you to play that game, that I've been like, no, I'm not playing that on stream. Sorry.
Yeah. Do you have any general guidelines that are like, I will never play this type of game? Is it like, are there ones that you're already preemptively like vetoing?
I don't know. Because like I'd say like inappropriate games, but we played GTA 5 on my stream.
Fair.
So I'm pretty open to most games. Like I think especially with having it be the popular vote for getting games, I usually end up with more like popular, more mainstream games. I think especially with like as a variety streamer, there's still that worry of like I want to play games that people, not that like more indie games or niche games don't have an audience, but there is that kind of thing. But I think if there was an indie game or a more niche game that my community wanted to play, I'd be down to play it, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like trying to think if there's anything, because I would say like point and click type games, but I've really enjoyed Diablo so far. There's some games that I'm like, that's not really my vibe. And then I'll like play it and I'll be like, okay, never mind. I enjoy it.
I like
so,
it.
so like, I can't say I'm kind of open to whatever.
That's very cool. I'm glad that you're open to that. I think that is helpful, right? Especially if your community has something that might be out of left field, right? Hi Jedi saying Starfield.
Starfield. I'm not planning on streaming Starfield. I just feel like it's a huge game and there's so many other games that are coming out in the next like few months that I want to play. And so, well, and there's some games. So I guess there's some games I want to play not on stream. And so like I played The Witcher off stream and I'm so glad I played it off stream, because there's such a difference between playing a game on stream, especially story games and like more open worldy story games, that there's such a difference from playing them by yourself in your room versus playing them on stream. Because especially with like, this has been something that's been such a balance, especially with Forbidden West, because it has a lot more side quests and open worldy things where there's a level of how many side quests do I do? How many of these random puzzles in this area do I do? For especially since I've been uploading so much of my content over on YouTube, there's like the thought of like, I can't do XYZ thing because is that entertaining for people to watch? You know, there's always that mindset when playing a game, especially an open world game. And so there's games like Starfield and The Witcher and things like that that are so open world. Like that's their whole thing, is that you're going to explore this world. That there's part of me that just wants to play that by myself and then keep more like story-based, linear-based games to stream. So I guess that's a game I wouldn't play on stream.
I like that perspective too, because I've struggled playing those types of games on stream because there's just so many things that I want to do or explore. And then I'm like, you know, does chat really want to see me do this thing that's probably not
And
that
I'll ask
watchable, but I'm going
sometimes,
to be
I'll be
super
like,
excited. Yeah.
I'll be like, do we want to do this puzzle area?
Yeah, do you want
And
to
then
look at
some people will be like,
this?
I'll watch you do whatever. And other people will be like, I want you to play the story. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, it's just that stuff. It's finding the balance. And sometimes you don't want to have to think about that. And you just want to
I get that.
go and sit in a corner and click on all the things and read all the things in certain games. So
yeah, and that is actually my thing. Honestly, like if I was playing at a pace that wouldn't, you know, feel slow to people watching, I'm the kind of person that is totally happy looking at everything, reading everything, and be like, "Oh, what's this thing do?" Like, and
what's
I play,
this do?
what's this? I'm a, you know, I'm a game developer, so I play like a game developer, which is we'll look at everything. And we'll look at everything in a very meticulous manner. And I know, like, when I first started streaming, I've had to like go and like get out of my head in that sense where I'm like, don't play it like don't play it like a game dev would play it. Just like consume it like a normal person. Consume it like a normal player instead of being like, oh wow, I really wonder why they. And I sometimes still say stuff like that out loud. But if I'm not on stream, I will like pick it apart and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna look at how this thing behaves and like run little tests and experiment. And I used to do that when I first I used to do that when I first started streaming. I was like, oh, it's funny to watch maybe a couple times, but if that is like your experience consistently watching me a whole stream, that is not. I know that's not entertaining. So I will purposely take myself out of that headspace. But
and there's some games that it works.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Like, especially with like Jedi Survivor. When I played Jedi Survivor, I didn't feel bad 100%ing that game and playing that game all the way through. And like the people in chat are talking about Outlaws. It's going to be the same deal because we're Star Wars people. I'm a Star Wars creator. This is like what I do. And we were excited about Survivor. So I knew no one in chat was going to be mad if I sat and 100%ed Survivor and clicked on all the things and found all the little goodies and read all the stuff and did all the things because that's something that the community is interested in. But with like random games like Forbidden West or God of War, where like only some of the people in chat are really excited and wanting me to go and look at all the things. And then some of the other people are like, I'm just here to see a reaction to that one character dying, you know?
I'm just going to wait here.
I'm just going to wait here.
Until you get there.
But with like games like that, you can be meticulous, but then it's like, but it's finding those are the fun games where you're like, I can geek out about this and no one else will mind.
Yeah,
but
it's
most
knowing what the community would be down for. We're talking about what is interesting to watch as a streamer and creator yourself. Like, what kind of things do you like to consume? What kind of things about streams that you really like to like? What makes you go, oh, I love watching this kind of stream?
So much is community interaction, but there's also a level of, especially now that I've played more games that have those big moments, there's a level of like, I've really enjoyed watching Zach play through God of War now that I've recently played through God of War, because it's fun to watch other people play those games and be like,
Yeah.
I also sat there at that part and didn't know what to do, or I also struggled with that boss, or oh, can't wait to see your reaction to that. But I think so much of it, at least for most of the streamers that I watch more actively, it is community interaction and how they like chat with their community and are funny and kind of witty, and that kind of stuff is what draws me into a lot of streams, is like just people that are fun to talk to. It's the people that you'd watch them probably just sit and talk at the camera, even if they weren't playing the game.
That's also the temperature at which I try to gauge like a community's interest in their streamer, right? Is if they are in that, because a lot of us do this. We sit at the beginning of our stream and we talk for a little while before we get started. It's seeing like I can generally find how much a community is really into their streamer in those moments, watching them interact directly with the chat. Okay, so we talked about the things that like you're like what you dig about certain streams. What are things that are like not that you don't enjoy about streams? Things that make you maybe want to click away from a stream?
Not interacting with chat.
Just not
like at all.
Yeah.
I like, especially if like there's not much chat happening and there's like no chat interaction. It's kind of like, or if I'm trying to interact and there's no interaction back, that will always kind of turn me off. I'm trying to think about anything else. Being rude, I guess.
Fair.
Like people, like if they're being mean, either to like people in, not necessarily people they're playing with, but like if they're just talking like negatively, that will also like put me off. Like, because you can play a game and like get frustrated and that's fine, but there's some people that like you'll watch them and they'll be like negative, and you're like, I don't want to sit and watch you just be mad. Like I don't want to sit and watch you rage forever about things. So I guess that's one of the other things. But there's very few, like I can't even think of like a stream that I've been in recently that I was like, I don't want to be here anymore, so
I get it. So when chat says like when Ruth thought we were all ignoring her the other day. Wait, what happened? Wait, what happened here?
So I read chat off of OBS. So I have the OBS extension that's chat. So that's how I read chat, and it wasn't loading. And I was trying to ask, and they were like actively chatting. And then I like asked a question because we were like trying to figure out what we were doing next. And I was like, well, do we want to do that, guys? Do we want to do that? And my chat wasn't loading. So I was like just sitting there like
awkwardly waiting to see things.
And then Jedi DM'd me on Discord and she's like, we're chatting. Can you not see it?
I did that too. And then I felt bad because I was like, wait a minute. Oh, okay, you are talking to me.
You're here. You're here.
Okay. Yeah. Oh man.
It took a while. I was feeling really like I was like, oh.
Felt out of sorts there with the whole thing. You're like, what's going on? What I do?
What did I do? No, really, because that's always the question. Is like, what did I do wrong? Like, are they mad? Did they all decide to go to the bathroom at the same time?
It was a solid 5 minutes. Someone's saying that.
I don't know if it was that long, but it was quite a while.
Wow, it's impressive. Earlier, when we were talking about your time on TikTok, you mentioned just getting burnt out. How did you know you were burnt out? Like, what kind of things were you feeling at the time to really signal that for you?
It's just when you start to get to the point where you like, it's like a despair where you're just like, well, no one likes me. No one cares about my content. Everyone hates me. These people, they don't, or don't see my content, that kind of stuff where you get in your head and you're like, no one wants to watch me. Everybody has left me. They've all left, and TikTok's bad with that because you'll go through so many, like there's weird algorithm stuff over there. And I think it's, I don't know if it's purposefully there to like mess with your brain or not, but it really does where like I'll hit, I like, it's so much of coming to terms with like, it's okay that your video didn't get XYZ views. Like last month you were getting like XYZ, like thousands of views on every video, and now you're getting like 8,000, which in like the span of things is not bad, you know?
Right.
um, but it's just coming to terms with it. There's so much lull in content, and in a low, like right now, I am not posting on TikTok as much as I used to because my TikToks just aren't getting seen if I post them. And so why would I take the time to put energy into something that no one's gonna watch? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just figuring out how to fight those moments where your brain's like, no one wants to watch my content, everyone hates me, and give yourself that space to be able to be like, you don't have to post. It's okay not to post. And so, especially recently, like in the last few months, I've hit that same kind of wall, especially with TikTok kind of content, where you have to decide, is it worth like going out of your way to make this content knowing that it might flop, knowing it might hurt you? And it's okay to say, no, it's not worth my time right now. I'll pick it up later when it is worth my time.
Yeah.
And so it's just trying to get through the angry voices of no one likes your content, blah, 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 to be just like, people have other things going on in their lives. Maybe the algorithm just isn't picking up my content. And TikTok especially goes through trends, and it does trending where it's like cosplay will be trending for like a month, and then it will not be trending anymore, and it will be something else, and then something else will trend. And and it's getting through those highs and lows and just being able to tell yourself, it's not me. It's not that people are like actively angry at me or actively mad at me, because they're not. Most people just aren't seeing your content, and that's not because they don't want to. It's just that they're not. And getting through those hard times.
Yeah. You point out something that's really interesting, because I think if you're not a creator on those platforms like TikTok
Mhm.
and Insta, for sure, like even YouTube, where something gets fundamentally changed, where then something that was working for you one day may not work
Mhm.
the next if there's just a major shift in how they're serving videos and content. So um, that's definitely, I think, a big thing that can affect creators' headspace, right? It definitely makes like a big, I would say, impact on like, maybe I don't feel motivated. Like I don't
Mhm.
really feel like doing anything. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Like it's a lot.
Yeah. Jedi in chat asks a wonderful question. What is your
Ooh.
fondest streaming memory, if you've got
Oh
one?
my gosh. There's so many, because there's so many amazing things that have happened on stream, from like people being awesome, like, well, and like some of the simplest of them are people being awesome during like tech issues or things like that. Like like there's not necessarily a moment, but there's so many times, especially with technical difficulties, that it's like I'm not giving you any entertaining content, but you're still here. Like my content is absolute trash right now, like because my stream's lagging or it's breaking down or I have to reset my computer 50 million times. Like we're not getting to the game that you probably came here to watch, but you're still here. And so those are always highlights. But I do think, like thinking back, especially to the last few months, probably just like my entire Jedi Survivor streams are just always going to be a highlight in my life. Like even going forward, it's like going to be something I think about, as far as just like amazing moments and getting to vibe with so many cool people in chat, and especially like at the very end, and getting to talk to like game devs that worked on the game. You're a game dev yourself.
Yeah.
um that getting to talk to people that worked on the cool content and getting to have so many people that are so excited about the same things that you're so excited about, it was just such a cool experience to be involved in the Jedi Survivor, my Jedi Survivor streams, and the cool people that came out for all of those. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was no, actually, I need to change. It was every time that guy No Denominator popped in chat, that was the highlight.
Every time.
Every time Noel came into chat, I was like,
this
highlight.
Can't get better. Jedi had another question. Jedi, if you want to be more specific, or if we could just ask it as, what's the best thing that's come out of it, in your opinion? I imagine streaming.
Gosh, like out of streaming?
Yeah.
People. Just the people I've met, from like Jedi and other streamers to the people that are part of my community, that like, there's no reason I would have met them otherwise. Like, I'll think about that sometimes, where like, because so many of either the friends I made or people in my community are people that live so far away from me. Like, there would be no reason at all, like total different walks of life for us to meet. And so, like, I think that's probably the biggest impact of streaming and my favorite impact. I love how Jedi's like, it was going to the Jedi Survivor event. That was it. And I'm like, it's the people I met. It's the friends I made along the way.
It's all the friends we made along the way. Friendship is what we're looking for.
Friendship is all I needed.
I have a great sense of what drives you right now in terms of the things that you're doing here on Twitch and on all the other platforms. But I would like to ask, what keeps you inspired to keep going live or posting things on all these other platforms?
Is saying people again? Like, is that cheesy?
I don't know. I don't
know. Like, cool people, interacting with cool people. But I think also just it's a way for me to share my art is also part of the draw of, especially sharing cosplay and stuff like that, is like things I love and work hard on. And just a sense of community. I think that's a big part of it, is feeling like I'm part of something. Yeah. And like making an impact in some way, like, is nice. And so I think that also helps like push me to keep making content, to be like, people like my art, I like people that like my art, and like interacting with those people, and also other cool people that make content. I love interacting with other cool people. But yeah, just all of that. I think a big part of it is just sense of community and finding cool people to talk to, and that like the same things that I like.
That's awesome. I like cool people too.
I like cool people too. Quote.
That'll be
I like people.
That will be the clip that we post on this.
I like internet people, actually. And let me change that statement. I like internet people, not people in real life. People in real life are scary.
I get it. I know what you mean.
Like, internet people.
Internet
cool.
People are awesome. You've been doing this for a couple of years now. Where do you see everything headed with the content and the channel in your community going forward?
I don't know. Like, obviously I'd like to grow if possible, but like, I'm very content where I am with all the stuff that's happened in the last few months. Like, there was part of me that was like, is this it, my chance? Am I going to hit it big? Am I going to make it? And it kind of just cooled down. And in some ways that's preferred. Like, I kind of like not having that many like, I like having people, but like, it's a lot easier to manage a cool community that's like this big than a cool community that's like that big, you know? And so, warning, there's cool people in chat. But I don't know, like, I'd be fine if I'm on everything. I'm steadily growing and getting somewhere. So I don't feel a need to jump in viewership or hit a certain goal. I just kind of am content with where I am. And if the natural growth takes me to Twitch partnership or something else, that's cool. But if not, like, I'm very content. I have a good time with my content. I like the people that are the cool people in chat that like my content. And so I don't know, like, just I'm kind of a go with the flow. I don't really have like there's like dreams, but like I don't really have like this is where I'm gonna be in like
Yeah.
5 months.
Yeah.
So
what are those dreams that you have?
I would like to be invited to the Star Wars Outlaws event.
Yeah.
Putting it out into the world.
Yeah. Put it out there.
That's probably about it.
Yeah.
That's like the only thing that I'm like goal.
Yeah. It's a good goal. I mean, that
You heard me, Ubisoft. Yeah, they're in chat.
You hear
me?
No, I love that. I think you'll, going forward, more opportunities will come for you. I believe that 100%. So I just want to take the time to tell you how that has been awesome so far.
It's been good.
Yeah. Given everything, we've chatted about, is there anything that you have you've had on your mind about creating content creation, anything like that you've just wanted to talk about or even share since we've got this time together as two people who are talking about it right now?
There's a lot to it, but also not a lot to it.
Yeah, it's true. Are you generally what's your general feeling on content creation? What if you're just chatting with a friend who knows nothing about it, what would you tell them about making things and your stance on it?
About my it's like when people are like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, I create content because I work as a freelance graphic designer. It's like, that's what I tell people, because I do that too. But that's my job when everyone's like, well, what's your job? I'm like, I'm a freelance graphic designer because trying to explain what being a content creator is to especially people who are older and don't really understand parents or grandparents and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My parents are very supportive and they come to my streams, so they know what I do.
Yeah.
but yeah, grandparents or other people, and you're like, I don't know. I don't know. It's put in hopefully something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Out into the world and saying, here you go, world. Take this thing.
Enjoy. This came out of my brain.
hopefully enjoy.
Yeah.
But it's just back to the just any sort of content creation is its own kind of form of art. And as someone, I said, I do graphic design, and so it's very much that same kind of thing. You're just putting out streaming and gaming and cosplay and all of that is its own kind of art that you're just kind of throwing out into the world. And any other artistic endeavor, it's so much here you go, world. Please don't hate it.
Yeah, don't hate this thing.
It. Don't hurt me. And so it's so much of that, and so much of at least what I'd hope, and I assume most content creators, you're putting so much, any other art, you're putting so much of yourself into what you do. And so that also makes content creation scary, where you're like, here is part of me.
Yeah.
Please be careful. But yeah, it's just creating art in different ways and putting it out in the world in hopes that someone looks at it and goes, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, though. If you were to distill it into a simple form of part of you goes into this thing that you make, especially when you care about it, and then hopefully people out there
hopefully someone looks at it and goes,
hopefully someone.
That's pretty nice.
that's pretty nice. I kind of like that thing. Maybe
I think that is swell. How snazzy!
I think it's fantastic.
That's a nice boulder. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. That's what content creation is.
yeah. How has all of this, when it comes to content and
Mhm.
creating it, how has this changed your life?
So much. It's one of those things that it's like Star Wars. Like before when you were like, what would your life be? Like what would your thing be if you like didn't have Star Wars? And I was like, I don't freaking know. I have no idea.
No.
It's kind of the same with content creation where it's like so much, especially now, of my life is content creation. And like all the friends I have are people I've met through content creation. So many of like the cool life experiences I've gotten to have from like going to Star Wars Celebration to going to like the Jedi Survivor event and all that kind of stuff is because of content creation. And so much of what I do every single day revolves around it. And so it's like how has my life changed? Like yes, like it has become my life to so much of an extent that like without it, like it is my hobby, it is like the thing I enjoy doing, um that I don't know where I would be without content creation. And every once in a while I'll think of that and be like, because it wasn't anything that I like sought out. I wasn't like, I'm going to be a content creator. Like, that's going to be my thing.
Right.
And so I'll always think back to like before I started posting, before I started streaming, and be like, where would I have thought I would have been at this point? Like, probably not here. This is probably
Yeah.
like if I went back like 5 years, like, I don't know if I would have guessed this. Like if it would have ever been like this is where I would be. And
Yeah.
it like wasn't in the plan. Like I'm very much a plan person. I make lists and everything. And so there was kind of like a list in my head. This is what's going to happen this year. This is what's going to happen this year. This is what's going to happen this year. Um and that I had when I was younger, especially going into college, because you know you're trying to figure out everything that you want to do and everything that you want to be. And so, like, I don't think like Ruth going into college would have been like, this is what's gonna be. And so it's just been really cool. And looking back, so much of my life and so many people, so many cool people I've met. Cause that's one of the highlights of streaming is getting to meet other cool people that do this kind of stuff. And so just I have no idea. I have no idea where I'd be if I didn't become a content creator. And I'd probably be fine, but but this is probably a lot cooler than whatever I'm
Yeah,
doing otherwise.
absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's very impactful. I can say the same, and I get the same sense from talking to you about your community and everything that has gone into it. So,
Mhm.
and I also want to thank you for just doing this with me.
Oh, of course.
This has been wonderful. I think this is a good time to kind of start to wrap things up. But for those that are watching and or listening, I just want to make sure that you find Ruthie everywhere she's online. Where are all the
Every
places they can find you that you want
um
them to find
most
you?
that's true. Here on Twitch, obviously, Ruthless Night Sister. I'm on TikTok and Instagram as Ruthless Night Sister, as well as I'm on Twitter, X, whatever the heck we're calling that now,
Yeah.
as Ruthless NS underscore. That's the only social media. And then YouTube as Ruthless Night Sister as well. So I'm mostly Ruthless Night Sister, other than Twitter.
Got it. So find Ruthie and all those wonderful places. Check out those streams, the YouTube, the occasional TikTok or Insta post whenever they come along.
Whenever they happen,
Whenever they
not very
happen.
often.
Yeah, I
I'm more
know.
consistent on Twitch,
Yeah,
and YouTube is pretty consistent actually. So
there you go. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me and having this conversation, allowing all of us who are
of
here
course.
live and who will watch or listen to this later get to know you thank you for kind of laying us into your thoughts here across gaming and streaming and content creation. Um, it's often one of the rituals here to let the guest end the episode. So
Oh,
whether it's
dang.
advice or just a final thought, or you want to plug something, whatever you would like to do, the final moments of this episode are yours, Ruthie.
I hope you're having a nice day. I don't know what else to say. If you want to get into content creation, make sure you're ready to be sad, but also happy. You're looking at me. But hey, that's content creation. Make sure
Yeah.
you're going to be sad, but you're also going to be happy. It's just part of the thing that you need to know going in. There's going to be sad times, but there's lots of happy times. Also, make sure to go comment on someone's post or something and say, that's a really nice thing you made there. It will make their day, I'm sure. Just make sure, yeah. Or tell your friends that they're a really nice thing and you appreciate them.